Good. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, welcome to day two. So this session will be class three, and the afternoon or the second session will be class four. So just to a quick recap of what we did yesterday. We try to install SSMS. We try to import our data, and also we work with the same just simple query, how you select, um, where you select from, when you want to select all the tables, when you want to select single tables, single columns rather, when you want to select single columns from the tables, um, the use of when you want to filter, um, if you want to when you want to filter rows, using where, and also we also work on logical operators, and inside the filtering. Um, Also, yesterday we also work on we started to cast, because our tables are not actually well structured. So we needed it to be well cleaned. So that's where we are going to start today. So today we are meant to work on order by, aliasing, and expression, aggregation, and group by. So let's see how far we can go with it. Normally, yesterday I meant to give us like a take home, like a kind of an exercise to practice, but because of the short period of time, that's why I didn't give us a kind of an exercise. So I will give what I plan to do is I'll be giving us the exercise class of class A and class B. Like maybe the every week the exercise will be weekly, not per class, so that you can have more time to work on the exercise, and so we can actually submit that. So um so for us to work on the order by, so what do we mean when we want to say when we are saying ordering? Yesterday we talked about um we talk about cabinets, if you remember what we discussed. Like, you want to select files from your cabinet, and after you select the file from your cabinet, you want to look at which of the shelf do you want to select from. So which is our table. Then we throw in a where statement, and the where statement is, okay, we want to filter. So now let's say after you have your files from the cabinet, you now want to try to arrange your documents. So which means that when we selected, let's use the example from yesterday. Let's use this. So this is going to be order by, and then I'll click Control K, Control C, just to comment that out. So if I paste this, so now let's say, for instance, when we selected this and we execute, so it's going to give us this one, right? But if you notice that the outputs are not actually in certain order. So let's say we want to order by, like, we want to try to sort, when we want to sort the result either by ascending or descending, you know, um, we have to use order by, right? You can't just say, oh, we are meant to maybe sort by, in Excel. If you go into the Excel and you select your column, you can actually click a kind of a drop down here, and you can sort, or you can also probably add fit and order by. But right here, if you want to do that, we're going to throw in an order by statement. So now, if we want to order by, what do we want to order by? Do we want to order by, let's say, itinerary fare? But for this itinerary fare, I won't order by this itinerary fare because is currently not, it's still currently in string. So we are going to convert it later on. We have this order by. So now we have, like, okay, let us order by maybe destination, or yeah, let's order by destination. I want to order by um, maybe ascending or descending. You now say order by, you say destination, then we have this. So now, if we run this, automatically it's going to be in is going to be in ascending order. We didn't actually had any form of ascending here. You see this A, B, E. So normally, if we want to do that, if we want to probably give it like, okay, we want it to order this in ascending order or descending order, we have to add ASC. ASC stands for ascending order. And so if we run this, you see that it's going to give us the same thing. The same thing that one gives us. So, and also if I copy this again and I just move it down a bit, you see that is AB, and I change this to this DESC. Oh, sorry. DESC, that's descending, so we've already seen this. I'll just cancel that query. Then if I run this, we could see that this one will be in descending order. You see that this one is the first letter here is Y-U-M instead of ABE that we have the other time. So that's how you sort, let's say, for instance, we want to sort our date. We want to sort, maybe we want to say, okay, I think we have one here as well where we have dates. Do you have it? I think we didn't type it out. Okay, let me just use this one. When I paste this one right here, and I want to just say order by, if I say ascending, then this one, what this is going to do is going to select everything in the table. So let me just make it like maybe top 2000, 3. Then top 2000, give me everything. So if I run this, then it's going to give me the top 2000. It's going to return the all the columns, and it's going to be in ascending order. And if you also want to change it to descending order as well, you can also change it. You see, this is ascending or descending order. And also you can actually use multiple what's it called, multiple columns, in terms of if you want to order by flight date, up career, tail number. Let's just do then if you want to do that, you put in your comma, copy career, so it already display that. You hit tab, and you have this. Yep, you have that. Let's hold on. So you could see this. This is actually it has arranged it in that order. You see, this is 9E. The reason why we have this is because alphabet will come before the letters. So, sorry, numbers will come before alphabets. So it's either number comes before alphabet or number comes before letter. So that's why you see 9 come before E, and you can see that, you see A, and that's how you see that. So that's how you sort, or that's how you order by. You sort your column, you order your column, you order your table. Any stuff you want to do. So now let's go to aliasing. Aliasing is very, very simple, and we are going to be using aliasing in our next what's it called? In our next step. We plan to also do some kind of cleaning to the tables today. And don't forget that what the plan of the class is for us to work on real life situation. There is not just that you just formulate the data. So if you actually come across this, how do you do that? And that's what we are working towards, on how to clean the data. So don't be in is that, oh, let's clean the data on time. No. For us to clean the data, you have to understand how do we arrive at that level. Sorry if you probably put a message on, if you drop a message and I didn't read the message, it's because I'm not actually following the stuff. So I'll probably follow that maybe during the course of the question and answer. So when we talk of aliasing, aliasing, so let's copy this again, right? If you remember is it our flights now? I think our flight where we have that comma we said we have comma separated value, whereby the comma for one, the comma has actually transitioned to another column. So in that regards, whereby what origin has, the values under origin is not the correct value, and the value under destination airport is meant to be under the origin. I'm just using that as an example. So in that regards, when we want to rename, if we run this, for instance, you see um, itinerary, you see itinerary ID, itinerary fare, destination, passenger, and origin. You see, this is what we have. So now let's say, for instance, we want to alias this. And what do you mean by alias? You just want to rename this column, this itinerary ID. We want to give it another name. We don't want it to be itinerary ID, so we want to give it another name. So how do we do that? You just say maybe select itinerary ID as. So what do you want to give it? Let's just call it ID. If I say ID, that can work. But the best practice, if I say ID can work. But the best practice is that at times you might have this ID as a kind of as a table name before. So since we are aliasing it as a table name, so the best thing for us is to put a quote around it to make it a string. It's not going to, since it's a string, it's just going to return a string, just as this one is. And we want to itinerary fare. Let's do this one as price. So sorry, as price. So, and also, if you notice I'm using as, at times you might not use as. So now let me do this one for destination. And can I say destination? Let's see destination as what do we call it? Destination. Let's just shorten it and just call it dest. I still forget to do that again. Dest. You see that I didn't add as right here, and we see the difference between that. And now for this one, let me remove this comma. Normally this one is giving us passenger and is giving us origin. So let's run this and see what is going to give to us. And I will explain the output to us. You see that right here we have our origin column is gone. And that's actually one of the expensive mistakes that one can make. And the reason is this, since we didn't actually had as here, so we didn't know. It doesn't make us to know that, or maybe you can actually omit it. Like your eyes might actually just might actually skip it, because at times when you are working with thousands of lines of code and you have been sitting down with the code for a very long time, at times you might have to just stand up from your system and just walk around. But if you don't decide that, okay, I'm not walking around, let me just say that, then maybe your eyes is just seeing different things and you just keep that. It's actually a very big, expensive mistake to make. So because we actually miss the comma here, you could see that the origin column is gone. So it's not turning these passenger column is not naming it as origin. So, but if you see this one, itinerary ID as ID, you see that it's ID, itinerary fare as price, you see that as price, destination as dest, you see that as dest. And this one, we actually, maybe in our mind, we wanted to return passengers and origin, and now we are only returning passengers and we are not returning origin. So it's actually a big mistake. So it's actually a best practice when you are writing your code, your query. Try as much as possible. Don't be tired, to input those short words as you're trying to use even though it will work, but just to make sure that is the best practice. Now, if you run this, you see that it's going to give us everything. Okay, so that one give us, you see, that one give, oh, I name it as origin. Let me name this as pass, as pass. Then comma, then I want my origin back again. Origin, origin has, let me just call this one orig. Then because this one is missing a code, I'll return the back. Then I'll run this. Then the next one is expression. You could see now we have the correct value right there. So now we are meant to work on creating new columns using expression. So Control K, Control C to comment that. And now we want to create a new expression. So now when we want to create a new expression, and when we talk of expression, we're talking about let's say like arithmetic. Let's use like in terms of arithmetic, we're talking of plus, then we talk of minus, then you talk of what else again? You talk of division, then you talk of multiplication, what else again? Then we can talk of modulo, like remainder or something like that. So let's just stick with these ones. Now, if you want to do all this, use all these ones, we need, I can also comment here instead of, you see, Control K, Control K, Control C. And if you want to do this, it's Control K, Control U. So I'll just click on that, just to highlight that. So we want to use expression, expression to create a new column, right? But if we want to use this expression to create a new column, then what it means is that we need to convert some of our tables. So let's go into the conversion now. And once we do the conversion, then we can actually come back to this one. So now for us to do the conversion, actually, if you also use this plus, right? This plus right here, it can concatenate two columns for you. But don't worry about that big word. Concatenate is just like you're adding, bringing column A, bringing column A and column B together. So all those ones are just big names, and just to scare you away. This stuff is actually the most easiest language that you can actually learn. So now for us to do that, I will have asked us to create, if you actually see right here under my training O2, you see that I have new I have extra columns right here. You see flight one, ticket one. Yeah, I will have also make us to also create a new table, new view at this time, but it's not part of the content yet. The content is probably towards the end. So, but for us to be able to convert that column, what we are going to use is that we are going to use the common table expression. Like we are going to create a temporary table. The temporary table is not going to be stored inside all these database or these tables. So it's going to be stored within this what's it called? This our IDE. So once you just run it, it's going to run everything, and that's what we are going to use. We are going to use we are going to use CTE to create that. And once we use CTE to create that, we will just be referencing the CTE, going forward until we now get to the final end where you can now where we teach how to create tables or how to create views and how we can actually do that. So for us to create a temporary table, don't be scared when you hear the CTE common table expression. What does it mean? It's just like a temporary table. For it can help you to do some kind of aggregation instead of you creating tables and having your table being messed up here. You can actually create a temporary table. And how do we do that? It's very simple. We start with with statement. He said with, then let's start with tickets. To drag this down a bit. We want to create with, let's start with tickets. Then we call our ticket. Let's try to where is my ticket? Let me try to select up 1,000. Oh, okay, I can just say select. Which one will pay me like that? So no, let me do select top 1,000. So I will just copy it. Select top 1,000. I didn't really want to spend so much time. Just copy it here. Then I'll close this one. I'll close. Then I'll come here, just paste here. Then I will run. So I want to be able to see which of these that I need to actually claim. So right here we have which statements. You see that we are already having what's it called? We're already having this kind of error message because it's not understanding what we are trying to say. So we have to give it a kind of a table name. I want to call it ticket. Let's call it ticket one. Ticket one. Then we say as. Then we open a parentheses. Then this parentheses will come down right here. Then you close the parentheses. So it's closing this. You could see how it's been highlighted and highlighted. Just follow the stuff. So I want to remove this top 1000. On that, I want everything. So we have, if you see what we have now, we have weight. You can actually take this one down and I can actually indent this a bit. I can press my control. Now it does not work. Then I can use this, then just to indent it, just to make it more good. And I can backspace this a bit so I can, to be easier for me to follow through. So I know that my itinerary ID, right? My itinerary ID right here is actually string. So I'm okay with that. I'm not going to convert it. Then my year, this year column, I know that is not actually, is actually string, and I want it to be year. So what I can do is that I can actually cast it at this time. And if you don't forget what we did yesterday, we actually use cast. You see this cast, and when we use that one, because they are nulls, it actually returns some kind of funny what's it called? Some funny errors. So, but right here, let's use trycast for everything we are going to be doing. I'm going to use trycast. Yeah, trycast. Then I open parentheses. Oh, trycast. Then it's meant to have an underscore trycast. Then this is year. So when we want to cast this now, then we are going to have it like, okay, what do we want to cast this year as? Then we say we want to cast this as what? Let's cast it as integer. Don't forget what we call our integer yesterday. Our integer is what? Our integer is is a number without any decimal. So we leave that because we expect that this year didn't have any decimal. Then we close the bracket. But right here, we need to give it a name. So just like what we did right here, how we alias it. So we are just going to say has. Then we give it year. Then we are done with that. Then for quarter as well, we also do the same thing for quarter. So I cast this as int. Then we want to name it as what? As quarter. Then we have a comma here. We should put a comma here. Then we have origin. Origin is meant to be ABI. So it's meant to be the same thing. So we're not going to convert this. We just leave it like that. We have, even though we might have some kind of nulls right here, or we might have, you might probably say you want to replace maybe zeros with nulls or something like that. We definitely get to that stage as well. So just keep following. Okay. Already have this right here. So trycast, going to have. So we know that our country origin is the same. I'm not changing that. This one is also the same. We're not changing that. I remove this one. Also, origin state is the same. Round trip, we have round trip as is either 1 or 0. But right here, you could see that we have 1.0. And that one might actually be tricky. But let me show us how to do that. We say trycast. We say trycast. Oh yeah, this is why this is saying that. So we say trycast. What do you want to cast this as? Because it's actually what's it called? 1.0. So we'll say trycast this as Before if we do int directly, it's going to give us a kind of an error. It's going to tell us that, oh, you can't convert voucher to this thing. So, but we can actually try it, and so you can see what I'm trying to say. Let's say as int, because we know that it's going to be int. Then as int, and we close this. Then we say, what do we want to call that? As round trip. Round trip. Then we close that. Then reporting carrier is the same thing. Passenger is meant to be is also meant to be number of is meant to be number of passenger. There's no way you have a passenger that is 1.5 or 1.3. So it's meant to be integer. So let's also do the same thing for passenger. Then we say, oh, try to C, to Z, to V. Then don't forget, we are actually turning this to hint first, just for us to see, because that's what is expected of us to do. Like, oh, we want it to be an integer. Then by the time we see any form of errors or any form of thing, then we cannot say, it's not meant to be like this. It should be this way. Then we say try cars passenger as int. Then we want to name it as passengers. Then you have that. So you see this one right here. It's meant to be open parentheses. Then itinerary fare, itinerary fare as well. We know that this itinerary fare, it can be in points, but this itinerary fare, when I investigated it, I'm not sure I saw any form of points. I think the itinerary fare is just a kind of a fixed amount. So, but we expected that itinerary fare in terms of, to actually be should be like, since we are dealing with money, it has to probably have some kind of decimal and stuff like that. So excuse me, let's cast itinerary fare as decimal. Don't forget how we cast decimal yesterday, as decimal. Then we open parentheses, and let's give it 10. Let's now give it, like, in terms of scale, let's give it 2. So we have that. Then what do you want to name this as? I want to name it as itinerary underscore fare. So we have that. So this one is meant to have this, and we have destination as this. Is meant to be like that. So I can actually come inside here and run this. It's going to run. So, but it's going to give us an error. Let me just prepare my mind. Well. It doesn't give error, but you see this. You see this one. You see round trip. What is it giving us? It's giving us null, and it's not meant to give us null. But see the itinerary fare that we put as 10, 12, or 10 to. You see what it has. So what that means is that we can actually use that. So let us cast it as decimal. I want to show us this. Let's cast this as, so that I won't confuse us rather, sorry. Cast this as decimal first. After it's been cast as decimal, then I will now cast this again as int. I think I'm missing. Yep. So, but for this one, for this passenger that I cast as int, let me leave it as that. And let's run again and see what it gives us. So you could see that the round trip is now giving us 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So now when you see a kind of line of code that is kind of too long, you don't have to worry yourself like, Omo, this code is too long. I don't really understand how it's been done. No, don't feel like that. All you just have to do is that try to understand what the code is doing. And how do you understand what the code is doing? Try to break it into pieces. For instance, if I'm going to write this, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this like this. Then this like this, right? Then this cast, I can come here like this. So you know that this tricast, this tricast is the same thing as this one, right? I can actually, oh, sorry, I meant to bring this one here. This tricast is actually one line. You understand? So when we run this, for instance, if you see this passenger, you see this passenger is still giving us 1.00 because we are actually doing it as precision 10 and scale of 2. And this for this round trip is actually giving us 1. So we want something like we want this to give us this. And since we already have this, what do we do again? Then we cast again. So we cannot cast because we know that this try cast it has already cast it, change the data type to decimal. Then we cannot cast that decimal into int. So that's why we now use this cast this as int. Then what do we now want to name it as? Then we want to name it as this. So in the real sense, you can just do something like this. So you know that this cast is working with this. So the fact that you see something that is on the line. So now if we want to do this again, how do we do it? You just say cast, open parentheses, then where do we come to? Then we come to the back of this and we say as what? As int. Then we do what? We close the parentheses. And that way, when we run this, what's it going to give us? You see, now we are having a perfect what? A perfect table. On normal day, we'll have just run this and just throw this inside tickets, but I don't want to be too forward so that we can get what we are trying to do. So for instance, now, we are actually using a with statement, but what we've done so far is just we only selected this. Now, if we now want to select from this, let's say we want to perform our arithmetic, what we just have to do is we now have to do select, let's say select star from ticket 1. So we are going to call this ticket 1 because this is a temporary table and we've actually created this inside this temporary table. So all we just have to do is now highlight it up to the with statement and do what? And run. And you see, it gives us the same thing. So now let's say, for instance, if we now want to work on, let's say we want to work on this arithmetic, we can actually work on that, arithmetic. You can actually work on arithmetic on this. Let me copy this expression. You see, I can stop this and I can come here and paste. So we know that that's what we want to work on. But mind you, all these are what? They are together. So you can say select what are the stuff we are selecting initially. Yeah, say is this the ticket? Yeah, you can say select ticket. Oh shit. See, sorry about that. So we can say this. Then and paste that. Then we remove that. Yeah, we can now say we want to select, let's say for instance, let me think of an example. Let's say we want to select itinerary ID. We want to add like maybe 10%. Let's say we want to add like maybe, let's say 10% to itinerary fare. So okay, this is the itinerary fare. When you are trying to book a flight, maybe inside the ticket they will try to add some kind of a tax. Add some tax. Let's say for instance, I want to add like 10% on this stuff. So how do we go about that? Let me just enter this so it doesn't really confuse us. So, and for the itinerary fare, we know that we are going to deal with itinerary fare. So you can also copy this one right down so that it will be easier for us. Then I'll remove this one. So itinerary fare, and I can say, how do we do that? Itinerary fare plus then let's open the parentheses, just like board mass. Your board mass still applies to this one. So we want it to actually to first evaluate what is inside the bracket first. Then after that, you now add it, because we only want to add a 10%, to that. And how do we do 10%? We now say itinerary fare times so 10% is 0.10. Then we can do this. So, but if we run this, it's just going to give us like a column, right? It's only going to give us column. So let me just say select top 5, or top 100, so that it will be faster. The reason why I added that, right? So don't let us get it confused. So if I select this and I run, you see what it gives me? It gives me 809. But for us to be sure that what we've picked is actually correct, like the 10% we've done is actually correct, let's add this itinerary fee to it. And if we run all this, what's it going to give us? You see 736, 806.60000. You see that it has added a 10%. You see now, do you now see this column name? This is one of the reasons why you also need that aliasing. You see this final one, you see that it doesn't have a kind of header. So we want to give it a header name, and we'll call it, let's call it share with 10%. 10%. So now if I run this again, execute. You see that? Share with 10%. So you see that we are building up to that what's it called, to that level now. So let me see another one we can work on again. I will let's work on airport code. Right here inside this with statement, we can also still add another another table to it, and we can actually reference different tables from it. So don't get that confused. But something came to my mind. Some of you might be like, why do we really have to go through all this? We try to cast, because I didn't actually run this code actually without the ticket. So let's say, for instance, I remove this ticket, which means that this top 100 is actually from the real ticket, which is this one. So if I run this, let's see, is it going to give us error? Really? Do you see what it's giving us? Arithmetic overflow error, converting varchar to data type numeric, just because we didn't convert the data type. I think that's the same error that one of us was getting yesterday. And this is, but because now that we've actually converted it to this, then when we use the one, if I hide this, for instance, you can hide this, you can hide it, and you can run this. So if I hide this, it's hiding everything. That's what I wanted. Then you see, it's going to give us that. Let's say we want to add airport code, and the reason why I'm adding airport code is that where is it? This for tickets. Let me close this one. This for airport code. This for airport code. I can close that. And also this one, this for flights. So for these flights, we have some kind of messy stuff. You see this one, I think we are going to probably be addressing this in maybe class 4 or so. So just go along with us, how it's actually been structured. Let me enter this. Don't forget, we're actually picking this from ticket 1. Let's say we want to add airport code to this. What do? We put a comma, right? And you can see that this one is already giving a kind of error, because it's expecting a statement. Then if we paste this, it's still going to give us error, because it will be expecting us to give this name. And what name do you want to give this? So actually come here and say airport codes. let's call it epoch code 1 as, let me enter that as. Then you do what again? You open parentheses. Then at the end of it, what do? You come here, you do what again? You close parentheses. And you see that the error message for this one is gone. So now let me just select this top 1000 and see how we can convert, if there's something we can convert in that one. So for this epoch code, what we could actually see is also for this coordinate, I will not touch this coordinate part because it has to also do with some kind of code that you have to what's it called? You have to this coordinates, this latitude and longitude. So I want to separate this first one and this second one. So I want to do that, but I won't do that in this class. We'll do that later on. So what I'm just going to do now is that what I could actually see right here is that this quote is not actually, it doesn't make the data to be clean. So I need to remove that one actually. So what are we going to do? Let's remove this again. Let me see, how do we do that one? Then we say select type. We know that type should be correct, so we leave the type the way it is. Name should be correct, we leave the name the way it is. Then elevation fit, we know that elevation fit at this time is currently in what's it called? Elevation fit at this time is currently in string, and since it's meant to be numeric, so we are going to convert that to numeric. Continent, you probably leave that one, the ISO code, then we leave, all those ones. What you are only going to do, I think for the ISO code, if I'm not mistaken, I think we only selected top 1000. Let's try to order this, order by, just to investigate the ISO code. They want to say descending. Let's just select this and see. If you are using keyboard, you can also press F5 to run that. So yeah, it's not even a big data like that. So we could actually see what we have right here. I think the ISO code looks correct. And initially, I was thinking it has some kind of quotes around it. So it's not that much. So that's what we have right there. Okay, so which means we only have to convert the elevation fit, this, and we also have to remove the quotes from the coordinates. So I'll paste that. So now, how do we do this? I'll have probably say someone should unmute and tell us, but we should probably be going for a break at this time. So let us quickly run this. Let's use try cast, then open parentheses. Then what do you want to cast this as? I want to cast this as, it should be flowing at this time because we did the first one together. Then what do? We give it a precision. Let's say a precision of 10. Then what is the scale? I want to scale it to 2. Maybe that's the 2 decimal place. Then what do you want to name this? I want to name this as elevation fits. So that one is that. Oh, this one should have 2 parentheses. So for the coordinates now, how do we remove what's it called, this code from this? Well, we can actually do it in different ways, but how I always love to do it, I will just trim it. I will use trim function. Is it that it's normal English? Just like, oh, how do I want to trim this away? I want to trim this quotes away. So it's normal English, even if you don't even know it. When you see trim, it's like, I think that's what it's doing. So, and how does that work? We want to trim. We give it, we call it is a string. We want to trim this. We want to trim that from, where do we want to trim it from? I want to trim it from coordinates, right? That's where we want to trim it from. So it's actually very straightforward. Then this is not going to give us a direct distance. So we are going to call it as, what do you want to call it? As coordinates. So now, if we run this up to that level, what's it going to give us? You see, the quotes at the end of it is gone. So that's how you can remove your quotes that way, depending on the one that works depending on the one that works best for you. But let's say lastly, before we go for a break, let's say for instance we want to let's say we want to select so I can actually call this one, I can use format for that one, right? And also use this and also call this one um, um, express, let's call it express tickets. That's express from tickets as then this one, then I close this. I just put it here because you should be familiar with it now. Then I want to call from, I also want to call from airport code at this time. So for me to do that from airport code, so let's think of a conversion we could do. And I think the only conversion we could actually do at this time is on this elevation fit. Let's say we want to add maybe so let's say we want to convert, this one is in feet. Let's say we want to convert it to meter. They ask you to convert the elevation feet to meter, or these are the data is connected to centimeter or something like that. Let's just try to say we want to convert it to meter. And what do we do with that? All we have to do is come here, remove that. All we have to do is select, let's say, let's say, I want to select everything. I want to select everything, but let me just bring it beside each other. Just bear with me. Okay. So let me also add coordinate. No, that's coordinate. Then the last one is elevation feet. So I want to convert my elevation feet. If you just double click on that, you'll be able to copy it. Then I want to convert my elevation feet to meter. If I want to convert feet to meter, that will be times 03048, I think 03048, right? Times that. Then what do I call this one? Let me call it as elevation feet, elevation meter now, not elevation feet anymore. Then I want to have that. So now, from where? From airport code 1. So you see that? So if I'm going to run this, I'm going to run it up to the with statement and I'm converting. I'm going to run this. The other by, yeah, it doesn't take other by. So I'm going to run it again. So you see that? So, but for us to be able to, just for us to be able to check that what we've, oh, sorry, Control Z, Control Y, Apple code 1. Oh, sorry. I was like, oh, this thing was confusing me. Let me take this. Then, oh, I should please terminal. The other by close. I've removed you before. Then to the with statement. And you see, so we've multiplied. This is in feet, this is in meter. So you see the arithmetic, we'll be able to perform on that. So when we come back, we actually work on, let me say, we work on this other one, aggregation and group by is what we are going to work on. So we go for a break now and we come back in the next 20 minutes. That will be 3:10. So, okay, let me see if we have any question.